has come to Nexus. It wasn't always like this. They said there used to be peace between the families. But they say power begets power. And for eons, all the families wanted to be on the throne of Titan. They tried to kill my brother. They tried to kill me. And I forgave them. Wars are fought over power. Out of prejudice, out of fear, out of love. What does it take to stop wars once and for all? What needs to be sacrificed? Who's willing to do that? My name is Demos Lyaxia. There will be peace.
Oh, hello everybody. My name is Aron Pohara.
Go ahead.
I'm the creator of the story that you just kind of got introduced to. The name is Book of Lyaxia. And it basically kind of like follows different mythologies. So you're going to see like Greek, Egyptian, Norse mythologies interact with each other on the same realm, basically fight for dominance. Think of it like Game of Thrones meets mythology. I call it mythology reimagined. So if you can imagine all of them, all of your favorite gods from different, pantheons meeting together and being separate in families, you'll understand what this story is about.
Sounds interesting.
Thank you.
Now, I noticed reading up on you a little bit. We had some similar backgrounds. You started as a reviewer and interviewer for a pop culture site, and you got to interview a lot of big names in the business.
Yes, I did. I still do it seldomly. I don't have as much time as I used to. I will sometimes pop with a review on the site from time to time. The name of the website is We the Nerdy. And I interviewed people such as Ale Garza, Tangal, who is the inker on George Perez's run on the New Teen Titans, which is one of my favorite, runs. Basically in comics. I'm a big Titans mark, so that was really a privilege and a pleasure to interview him. Also got to interview Pierre Tomasi and a couple of other big names.
It's always fun getting to meet some people that you have looked up to in the industry.
Oh, absolutely. It was. Some of those names were, you kind of have to take the mask off from being a fanboy to be able to kind of ask the questions and present yourself as interesting and not just fan the flames, so to speak.
Oh yeah, I covered a convention for Outright Geekery last year, and I got to meet and talk to Neil Adams, Graham Nolan, and a handful of other people that I've come to admire over the years.
No, that's awesome. Neil Adams is one of those legends that you always kind of admire, and he likes to, gives the insight to the industry and how it worked before, how it works now, because he's still active in the business. So he kind of gives you that, double-sided, how should I put this? Double-sided knowledge, how it worked before, how it works now, how much it changed.
And he likes to talk about himself a lot.
That he does. That he does. He's a diva, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
it was still great meeting him and everybody else that I got to meet there. Mike Grell was there, and I'm a huge Mike Grell fan.
absolutely, yeah. Mike is fantastic from his creations, from Warlord. The stuff that he did on Green Arrow, all that stuff.
His John Sable run,
Right. Definitely. I mean, and it's kind of sad not having conventions this year, because having that interaction with the even the newcomers in the industry that are just breaking in, like Arjun, and no, I can't really say Arjun's breaking into the industry, but in a sense he's not Neil Adams or Graham Nolan or even Chuck Dixon that's been around for 20-25 years. So missing that interaction is definitely, I think, takes the toll on a lot of the people now. Having to do everything quarantined and having to do everything virtual is definitely a different experience.
Oh yeah, the virtual cons are everywhere. People either love them or they hate them. There's no middle of the road. There's been some that have done just that have mixed it up enough with artists and vendors and panels to make it more interesting. But I've seen a lot of them where it's just the artists, and they're offering up their wares like you would if you were visiting them at their table.
No, for sure, and even I tried to watch some of the Comic-Con panels, and they were, they had some good content there, but it just wasn't the same. It's not the same feel as going to a con, sitting down, even talking to other people, after or before the panel, what they're here to see, what they expect. Just having that interaction is definitely what's missing.
Yeah, it's kind of like having to buy comic books online when you're used to going in, being able to go into a comic store, and it's a whole other world. That whole feeling you get when you go into a comic shop, whether you're looking for back issues or if you're just looking for, new releases.
No, absolutely. It's just not the same. Maybe we'll get used to it. Hopefully we won't have to. This will, hopefully we'll find a vaccine, find a way to actually curb this, and stuff can actually open up. But it's not a good feeling having not having the cons themselves.
Yeah, exactly. The only plus side to it is it gives all comic content creators more time to work on stuff because they're stuck home.
Does it now?
Well,
yeah, no, I get it. Definitely, there's more time. At least you don't have to worry about shows. But definitely gives us enough time to work on our projects and hopefully come up with some new stuff.
Well, let's talk about your project, because you said that in what I read on your Kickstarter, where we just saw the video for, that this project that you just completed is something that you have been working on like 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a kind of dream project of mine, and I'm a big fan of mythology, and it was one of those reasons I finally incorporated the characters, incorporated the story to fit that narrative. Originally, it wasn't the original characters were there, the storyline was there, but the framework is what kind of evolved through the times, and it just chose the mythology to be the best framework for the type of story I was gonna tell. And to me, mythology is kind of like, it's history is superheroes essentially, and there's 5 million superhero stories out there. Coming up with a original brand new superhero is definitely I'm not saying it's boring. It's just it's a challenging task to kind of break ground into the actual market, because it feels like everything's covered, from stuff like Daredevil or Luke Cage, where it's more urban, to real superheroes like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. It just seems like everything's covered. And I've seen books on like a Greek mythology. I've seen the books on Egyptian, Norse, all of that stuff, but I've never seen anything that combines them and actually puts them all together on the same plane, and them having to interact with each other. And I just chose this particular setting for this story because it deals with revenge, it deals with power grabs, deals with lust, everything that kind of makes the story, that type of story, resonate with the reader, I want to say. And I just thought it was the best type of setting for it, because my idea after I finish the arc is to possibly expand on additional pantheons as well. So maybe put in some Mayan, Mayan deities, Christian deities, and basically make the whole world about these different gods and their interactions.
Now, were you always interested in comic books?
Yeah, I mean, originally, are you talking about this particular project, or just was I in general interested in comics?
Interested in generally in comics, like growing up, and some kids are more into going out and playing sports than they are reading comics and hanging out with their friends or whatnot.
Well, I mean, comics themselves were always, a big part of my childhood. The video, it's been kind of acting up. But since I grew up in Croatia, it was a different way of actually getting to that, getting to that media. So I really kind of grew up on the Turtles. I grew up on like He-Man, Transformers, stuff like that. So I was really kind of like 80s TV geek kid, because it was a lot easier to get that than it was like getting an issue of Superman, getting an issue of Batman or something like that.
Yeah, I remember all those shows. Now they're all coming back.
It does seem like that. It's like we're coming back to the 80s, and it's like Transformers, new He-Man. I even heard they want to do a new version of Ren and Stimpy. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I heard that today. I'm like, nothing can touch the original Ren and Stimpy.
Nope. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that, but it's definitely, it just seems like everything's coming back to the 80s. Everything kind of coming full circle, from movies, TV shows.
Yep, all new lines of toys for He-Man and Thundercats and G.I. Joe, and all that stuff is just coming. It seems to circle around like every 7 to 10 years, and they just bring it all back.
Right, and it's as sometimes people are upset when there's not stuff like that, but that's why I enjoy stuff like Avatar: Last Airbender, Korra. What's the one on Netflix that they have? Troll Hunters. It's you know it's expanding on stuff without dealing with nostalgia. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my nostalgia. Get me another series of He-Man that's good, I love it. But get me some new content as well. And I think it's important to not just kind of sit in the past, so to speak.
Yeah, they can't keep recycling the same old, because most of us nerdy, geeky guys already own that stuff.
Right. Give me something new. Give me something new to geek about.
We've already got hard copies of stuff like that, but well, like we just got the second season of Umbrella Academy.
Right. No, that
Netflix, which was great.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the second season. I love the first one. It's definitely quirky.
I think the second season is even better.
Oh wow!
But I want to buy the soundtracks now, because they had the best soundtrack of any show.
No, it's really really fun. It's out there, and that's what I want to kind of see. And I was super bummed when they canceled Swamp Thing on this universe. I'm like, it's perfect. It's finally something completely out there. Granted, they have Doom Patrol. I like it. But Swamp Thing was, hey, they're making this horror thing, and it was truly a horror show as a superhero, and it just worked.
I thought it was great, and as soon as I heard what had happened, I was angry for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, because it was. I don't think it's what they said it was. I just think that something else happened and they just didn't want to pay for it.
You have shows like that sometimes that companies don't know what to do with, and Firefly being a prime example. Fox killing it after one season, and having the episodes, scrambled, episode 1, episode 10, episode 13 just airing, and they didn't know what they had, and people would clamor for that show to come back, but chances of that happening are slim to none.
Yeah, it's turned into a very successful series of comic books, though.
That's true, and that's definitely good that they were able to expand on that universe, further. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask what were some of your biggest influences in your work?
Oof, that's a tough one. Influences in my work. Well, I honestly, when I was working on this particular project, Book of Lyaxia, I read up on a lot of the, different mythologies, truly read up history books. I even reread Homer and Iliad just to kind of familiarize myself with the type of stories that they were told. Not so much to recreate them, but just to kind of get the sense of the world that type of mythology would be in. And then, definitely, I can't say I'm not influenced by anime, because I'm a big anime, geek. So definitely wanted to kind of incorporate that type of vibe to the story, manga type of vibe to the story, where you deal with these mythological, essentially gods, because that's what they are. Every character in my story is a god from different mythology.
Yeah, I find it interesting too because one of the things that I liked that came out of DC's New 52 run was Azraella's Wonder Woman run, where it was basically her going up against the entire Greek pantheon.
Absolutely. No, that was awesome. It's just having something like that, and like I said at the beginning, I do believe that superheroes are basically modern versions of gods. I mean, they are basically 20th century mythology in a sense. You have stories that are dramas, you have stories that are love stories, you have horror stories, you have mysteries and thriller, and same as you've had back then. It's just written differently, different characters, but you have those universal type of stories that they're always going to remain, and you always just have to put your own spin to it.
You have to make it your own, definitely.
Absolutely.
Now, is there a certain kind of genre you like reading currently?
Right now, the books I've been reading, it was Middle West by Scott Young, which is fantastic read. I think just finished. So I was kind of reading up on that. Isola. I've been reading Young Justice and Teen Titans for the superhero run. The Empire seems to be pretty good. I've read the first 2 issues, but it looks interesting, and I think it's gonna go somewhere this time, hopefully. We had a lot of those crossovers where it just seems like, okay, well, it's a summer blockbuster that let's sell 50 books.
Yeah, it got all messed up because of COVID this year. So the normal date for the free comic book day getting canceled and pushed so far back into the summer because both DC and Marvel usually launch their next big crossover event
Right.
from that free comic book day. So, people have to hope that their local shops get Empire Zero, and then some people might want to wait until they can get the Zero issue so they can read the Zero issue before the first 2 or 3 regular issues that have come out for it.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a journey, and this whole thing will blow over eventually, and we'll get back to some kind of normalcy, both with scheduling and just having cons. I really miss cons.
Oh, I know. I had a chance to go to one just before all the shutdowns happened, and it was local, like 20-minute ride from where I live, and I wasn't able to go because I ended up with a blood infection. I was in the hospital.
I hope you're doing better, man.
Oh, I'm doing much better now. Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
Now, when you launched this Kickstarter, was it 3 issues, or was it just issue 1?
So this latest Kickstarter, I basically that was really for issue number 3. I had 2 previous Kickstarters for each issue. On this one, I kind of decided to retire some of the covers that I've had, and offer the other covers from the other first 2 issues. But I wanted to. I also had some like stickers and all of that cool stuff like that. that I gave as promo stuff. I had some prints on there. But yeah, that Kickstarter was more for the third issue, but ultimately had a bundle, essentially a bundle where you can catch up to the entire story.
Now, are you considering re-releasing it in graphic novel format, so like a trade?
And that's a possibility. Right now, I got picked up by Second Sight Publishing, so I'm gonna basically be fully published with them, and having it as a graphic novel is definitely gonna be one of the goals. Essentially, the first three issues could become one graphic novel. This particular story, this particular arc, I want to have it be 6 issues with basically a kind of like a prequel, but it ties everything together. And the way that I decide to write this, I don't really want to write it as an ongoing thing. And the reason why is I want, when my readers finish this 6 or 7 issues with a prequel, they'll have that entire story. Obviously, the arc is finished, the story is finished, we have beginning and end. Obviously, the story can continue, but this particular arc is basically a big mystery as to what's essentially going on, because you're kind of trusting in all of this, assassination attempts and all of this, and kind of I wanted to have the reader feel sort of disjointed in a sense, because they're kind of going through the eyes of the main characters that are also trying to figure out what's going on here, and that's been one of the most challenging parts about writing that part of the mystery, because you never know what's too much information per issue and what's too little. And this being my first actual comic that I've written, I didn't want to do a sea of text per panel where it explains every single thing. So that balancing act was definitely an interesting step.
Well, congratulations on being picked up by Second Sight.
Thank you so much. Actually, we are going to have a exclusive cover launching here soon. Just look for the news. It's going to be basically by Mark Pennington, who is one of the legends in the business. I have the original that I can show you. I can also show you some of the other kind of covers and the prints as well if you want.
Sure.
All right, just give me a sec here. Again, I'm not quite sure how well this is gonna work. This is my first set like this. So this was one of the kind of like variants that I've had. This was done by Ben Dunn. This is for issue number 1. This was for issue number 2. This was done by Renee Deliz.
Very nice.
Thank you. This one is one of the variants on Kickstarter for issue number 3. So this one was done by Danny Kim. And I really kind of wanted to each kind of cover, it's gonna become darker and darker as to the themes become darker and darker. And this one's cool because it's actually a wraparound. Actually, the Renee Deliz one is as well, but this one kind of gives you a full battle scene as to what's gonna happen. It's pretty. I love this cover. As for the prints, I have a ton. So this was the one that I'm going to show you right now. Is this was the very first colored print before the design for Demos, who is the main character, got fully finished. You got to see him in his full armor garb, but there were some details that were changed. So that was the very first print that was ever done of the character. So that was pretty much the very first design. As for the Pennington cover, give me a second here. And yes, there may be a art book about all of this stuff. I can show you. I have original art. I have cover art, all that good stuff. I'm so sorry. I should be more prepared with this, but
It's all right.
All right, here we go. I really love this cover. It's really, really cool. It's completely in black and white, and this basically has Anubis. So this is gonna have this is gonna be one of the variants with the second sight, one of the exclusive ones that we're gonna have in event 4. And the one next to it right here, this is the original art by Kenneth Rocafort for issue number 1. I'm not sure if you can fully see it, but this is one of my favorite covers, and it's probably something I'm never gonna part with. Crazy talented artist.
You need more frames.
Yes, well, the whole book is different art. This one I really like because I kind of wanted to do it one of those commercials. Coppertone, remember, with that dog?
Oh yeah,
So
I remember that. I'm old.
It's kind of that vibe with the fish. Just kind of, sometimes I have to have fun, even though it's it gets darker, but you have to have fun with the characters sometimes. So let's see. And this is gonna be one of the actually it's gonna be 1 in 25 variant with second sight. That you 1 in 15. I'm sorry. 1 in 15 variant for the stores. So once this is printed, this is the only way you'll ever be able to get this cover. I've never even printed it for the Kickstarter or anything else. So this is going to be a very popular cover come release.
The link you sent me said it was supposed to be out today.
So yes, you know what happened?
COVID
happened. See, I don't have to explain this to you. I love this one too because this was one of the first group shots that I've done. And if you can see it, but I can kind of tell you who's who. So the one on the top here is Anubis. That's Ares. So Ares is a widow died. Fantastic. Then next to Ares is Adonis, and then on the bottom we have the two twins, which are the Kronos and Demos, which are basically the protagonists of the story. I don't really want to call them heroes. I don't really have heroes or villains in my story, per se. Because, again, they're following this path where you just don't know where it's going to take them and what they're going to need to do and if they're going to need to do some evil stuff or not. You'll find out. But yeah, I have some original stuff, original art by some of the big names. So Peter Smith, who was the one of the designers for Disney, did a piece for Apollo, which is here, and then Norm Rampmund did the Kronos piece for me. Let's see. This is the original of the group shot. I've just shown you the print off. So this is the original piece of that. And this is Athena by Ale Garza. There we go.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I have, the first year when I started doing this, I really kind of went all out on the art and getting people to do this. I really love this piece. I have to show you. This is original by Nick Bradshaw that did the twins for me as a commission. That was really, really cool. Yeah, I kind of went crazy. But this is one of those things. It's really a passion project for me. I do believe in a story very much, just because I love mythology and it's a type of story that I've wanted to tell. And like I said, come second arc, I can just make it a complete comedy. I can just do a comedy arc. I can do a horror arc. I can just play with it, and that's kind of the cool thing with this universe I'm trying to do. Is again, it's gods. You can just do whatever you want with it. It's as long as you keep true to what they were, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have people feel that, hey, this is Anubis. I want them to feel, hey, this is, the god of death. It's the god of, the dead. But is my character. So how do you incorporate what people know of him, but bring him to a fresh oversight? And that was kind of the most challenging part with all the characters. But, I just gave them my vision and how I interpreted them, and I think it's gonna be super fun. By the end of it, it's gonna be. I think people are gonna be blown away.
Yeah, it's a very malleable universe, but you just wanna keep it within certain parameters.
Absolutely, and that's what I mean. That's why I did not really want to do it as an ongoing type of deal. I want to do it in arcs, because I can play within an arc. If I do an ongoing, I can't just change the complete tone of the book with an ongoing book. You can't read 7 issues of, Superman or Spider-Man and issue 8 of Spider-Man, and now he's acting like Deadpool. You just can't do that, for 8 issues and then go back to normalcy. So you have to kind of fill up the parameters of the book.
So I take it Second Sight is going to do variants of like the first 3 books.
So there's going to be a variant of the first issue, which is going to be the one by Andy Baccarizo, who is the main artist on the first 3 issues and part of the 4th. Yes, there's going to be a second artist coming in toward the second part of the 4th issue to finish the book, and also does the which is the I'm just going to say it here. It's basically called Hades, Birth of a God. And it follows the god Hades before the events of the Book of Lyaxia. I didn't even want to call it Book of Lyaxia, and you'll find out why.
Now, do you have any time constraints from Second Sight as far as how you have to have books produced going forward?
As of right now, no. I think everything's kind of, this whole year has been flux for everybody, because everybody's schedules kind of change and accelerate, with what's going on outside. So it's a weird time for sure.
yeah, so everything's kind of relaxed right now because nobody knows what tomorrow holds for for this year. So
Pretty much. That's this whole year's been weird. I was supposed to be, on the circuit a lot more. I've only done like 2 or 3 conventions and 4 or 5 signings last year. I really wanted to do, more this year, with the second and third issue being out, now having more stuff, more, more to tell. Really wanted to be out there, but, nature would say no.
apparently so, yeah. But the few conventions that you were able to do last year, how did those go, and what shows did you do?
So last year I did MegaCon. I did a couple of Florida shows. I did a MegaCon in Orlando. I did the Tampa Bay Comic Con, and I did several signings at Emerald City here in St. Petersburg, Florida. I did one in Longwood, Florida, in called Acme, and I did a signing for Free Comic Book Day as well, and they went well. I mean, again, being a new face on the market, so to speak, it was just I just went there and had fun, just meeting the fans, being on the other side of the table, for years doing conventions, as a fan, and sitting down on a super comfortable chairs that cons give you. uh, it was definitely a different experience, and I miss it. Don't miss the chairs, but I miss the experience.
The experience minus the chairs, yes.
Pretty much, the chairs are their own experience. Maybe I should charge people to sit in them to have the vendor experience, so to speak.
I've been there. I did. I helped out a friend of mine who's a comic art collector, and I haven't seen him in a number of years now. But I went in with him and worked one of the old Boston Comic Cons, probably about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And he knew all my favorite artists from growing up. So he busted my chops by bringing certain key pieces, like he brought the original Kenner Superpowers full art drawing piece that Jack Kirby did for the toy line. And I just looked at him and I'm like, in my best Looney Tunes voice, I hate you, Reddit.
Oh man.
But he used to stop by a bar I used to work at, and he would have me sneak out the back door when I had a minute with him, and he would open up the hatch of his SUV and show me recent acquisitions he got from like the the 60s and 70s, like House of Mystery pieces from Jim Aparo, like the original art, so it still had all the words, and Comic Code Authority was like scotch taped on it. The tape was all browning, and I'm like, this is awesome. It's the best thing I've seen all day.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's one thing, with the new comics now, it's so rare that you actually have original art, original pages, because a lot of the stuff is done digitally.
Yeah.
Having to find an artist with the pages, right now is super rare. I know some of the, newer guys like Patrick Gleason and stuff like that still does traditional art. But most of the stuff now is digital, and just I don't know, it's just the feel of going through the pages, old stuff. It's definitely has its charm.
I mean, it looks, the newer digital stuff, is aesthetically pleasing, but it doesn't give you the grit and the texture you get from the old original versions.
And yeah, I mean, I've always liked the, especially watercolor. When something's done in watercolor, it just has that warmth to it that no other palette can touch. Maybe oil, but having something done on that format versus digital painting, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, I can't do it, so I'm not bashing anybody for that. I'm just saying for me, watercolor always has that warmer feel to it.
Yeah, it's got a special look to it.
For sure.
You can't duplicate on digital.
Definitely, and so sometimes, and this is gonna sound contradictory because it is, but sometimes the small imperfections in the art make the art perfect, and just having that one thing that you missed, and then you look down and see it as an artist, a year later. And now you can't change it because everybody saw it, but that's what makes it unique sometimes. And it's not, obviously the style is very important, but I think those imperfections sometimes do differentiate you from somebody else. I don't know.
I think I understand what you're saying.
I don't think anybody else does.
Us reviewers got to stick together.
Fair enough.
Now, hypothetically, if you could pick any artist to do, say, the cover for your trade for Volume 1, who would it be?
Don't put me on the spot. Oh, man. Hypothetically possible or hypothetically impossible?
Either one.
Okay. Hypothetically impossible, probably Mark Silvestri. I just, that guy's amazing. Hypothetically possible, Pascal Ferry. He's a really, really good artist. But yeah, I mean, if I could ever get Silvestri to do anything for my book, I'd be over the moon.
I actually met him in Boston. And I didn't get anything signed by him because he was like, "Can you come back in 20 minutes? I really get the munchies. I want to get something to eat, and my coffee's empty."
20 minutes later, he's gone.
20 minutes later, he still wasn't back.
It's Mark Silvestri.
But I get to sit and I talk to him for like a good 10, 15 minutes.
No, that's
super nice guy.
No, for sure. He's, again, it's like Neil Adams, except he doesn't really talk too much about himself, but he'll talk your ear off about the industry.
He'll talk about anything but himself.
Pretty much.
And Neil will talk about himself, but only when it's involved in the industry.
himself.
It was funny because last year at that same convention, Marty Abrams, who created the world's greatest superhero Mego toy line, was at the other end of the hall from Neil, and Neil did all the original artwork for the Mego toy line back in the late '60s, early '70s. So I had told him, I go, Marty's here, right? And he was like, Marty who? I go, Marty Abrams, Mego Toys. He's like, oh, he's here. So, and I told Marty, I go, Neil's down the other end. So they went and they duplicated a picture, like 50 years later, from one that they had originally taken when he first launched the line with Neil's artwork.
Oh wow!
So
very cool.
So it was pretty cool. But they still both made me pay for autographs.
Of course, I mean,
You
you have to pay for the experience of meeting Neil Adams.
Yeah. It was still a good time. I talked to him when he was still setting up for like 45 minutes at the very beginning.
Now his Neil's Neil. You can't really say anything bad about him, but he's just Neil.
He's just Neil. Neil's getting used to the virtual world too. He goes live like 2 or 3 times a day.
Oh wow, it's crazy.
He's doing more and more covers for DC and others, and doing like Alex Ross does, and marketing them through his own store. And
that's one person I've never met, and that would be another one that would be an impossible get. Would be Alex Ross to do a cover for the book. I never even got to meet him. I've been to San Diego Comic-Con twice, but I don't know if he does that show, because anytime I go to the booth, it's just it's a store. You have the guy that deals with his collectibles, and I've never met him there. I've never seen him there.
I think he's there, but he spends a lot of time in the green room in the back.
I see.
Doing interviews with lots of publications and various media folk.
Makes sense. Yeah, he's definitely one of those people I would like to meet for sure.
Oh yeah, I love all of his work.
So how did you get into the? I'm gonna interview you now. How did you get into the interviewing and all of that?
Well, back a little over 20 years ago, I wrote 2 articles for fanboy.com.
Okay.
One on the history of Conan, and another one that was a lot of me complaining, and I basically pitted Marvel against DC in.
Would you do that?
I did the New 52 versus Civil War.
Oh, don't do that. That's
And it was highly criticized and liked article on their website for quite a few years. Then I didn't do anything anymore until about 3 years ago. I started writing for a former comic book creator that used to be at MegaCon every year, Martin Dunn, and he had worked for Marvel, DC, Boom, IDW, done some image work, and he went back into music. He still does comic book related, comic book projects here and there. He did a variant of Scout Comics Stabbity Bunny, where it's Stabbity Bunny, but it's a homage to Incredible Hulk #1.
Oh, that's cool.
That's the only one of that series I own, but and he loves punk music, so I wrote for him for a little over a year, reviewing new bands and interviewing bands, and did some comic book reviews on the site. And then I stumbled onto Outright Geekery, who had put up an ad in a comic book group that Martin owns on Facebook. And I responded, and they saw my interview. I interviewed artist and writer and now wrestler out of Canada, Andy Belanger, the creator of Southern Cross for Image. And he was the artist on most of the backup stories in the WWE comic books.
Oh, wow.
So now he's a professional wrestler, writer, and artist. And I interviewed him when he had his run, his short run on Vampirella before the relaunch. And they read the interview, brought me on. I started reviewing for him, and not long after I got bumped up to content delivery manager and professional contact person. And then with stimulus check #1, I bought a webcam, tripod, and microphone.
There you go. Hey.
And now, like everybody else on the planet, I have a podcast.
I don't. Not yet. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Not yet, but you're getting there.
Getting there. Have the equipment.
Now you just have to find some time.
There you go. Time. What's this? Oh, man. But no, it's this whole year is you would think you would have enough time, but you don't.
Nope, not at all. I don't even have enough time, and I'm gainfully, forcefully unemployed because I had some medical issues 4 years ago and ended up in a coma. So
oof.
I went from walking around and being a nightclub DJ of 30 plus years to being in a wheelchair. So now I work from my computer, doing that and talking with publishers and creators all the time. I'm like, well, at least I get to do stuff that I like.
No, for sure. And that's the most important part. You do what you want, it's a job, but is it a job if you like it?
It must not be a job because I like it and there's no money involved.
Then it's a job.
Yeah. Oh, it must have all go to all those tax hikes.
Oh, man. But no, it's here's to hoping that this whole thing will go back to normal soon.
Very soon, yeah. We want to, because there's going to be so many new regulations for comic book shows. So
I
how are these big, overblown, overcharging conventions that are basically pop culture conventions? They're not, because they concentrate on all the media celebrities because that's what's bringing them all the big cash, and then they shove, all the artists and comic book people, in the back of a corner of a room, like on, the first or second level.
right. No, and that's going to be the most interesting part in all of this. How is that going to change? I mean, when are the people going to be comfortable with going to a show that has even 10,000 people? Not talking Comic Cons like the big ones like C2E2 or San Diego or New York. Even like the smaller cons that have 5,000, 10,000 people in one place. I mean, how is that going to happen with this environment? What kind of regulations are going to
I
be?
think we're gonna see the bigger cons kind of like go to the wayside,
And
especially for a couple of years. And I think we're gonna see the reemergence of the old school comic book shows, where you get a couple local creators and a handful of vendors, and people come in and shop around, meet the creators, maybe get a sketch, maybe just get something signed, and buy a bunch of comics or toys or what have you that's there, and kind of like head out the door.
no, for sure, and that's it's a shame because it is nice meeting those bigger names as well sometimes, but in the same sense, it would be nice to go back to that. I remember shows when I started doing the shows here in Florida, as a fan, I was doing like what we called a place was called Mini Rag, and it had maybe 5, 6 artists, maybe 1 or 2 celebrities, nothing big, and then you had like 10 or 15 vendors, and that's your show. That's what you had. It wasn't this conglomeration that they have right now with everything and everybody, and comic book shows will hopefully focus on comic books soon.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping for too. It's basically what happened. There were a bunch of good size shows all over the place. Obviously, San Diego C2E2, MegaCon, New York, and like Boston Comic Con were some of the bigger ones. But there were some great small town shows. But when MCU hit huge,
That changed everything. Yeah.
all these event guys turned around and said, "Oh, why aren't we bleeding comic book fans dry?"
They seem to have money.
And and the next thing you know, it's Rhode Island Comic Con is like outsold Boston Comic Con for like the last 10 years or so.
Oh,
And but I remember the first year I went, I wasn't able to buy a ticket beforehand, so I had to stand in line for 2.5 hours, waiting in line at the door to buy a ticket. And between the price of the ticket master fee on it, and the city and state tax on top of that for buying the ticket at the door, it cost me close to $100 to walk in.
You forgot the convenience fee.
Oh yeah.
Or the inconvenience fee, as I like to call it.
Yeah, I love the inconvenience fees. Well, Ticketmaster is charging you $15. The ticket is $50 plus the tax, but we can't add the tax in until we get the total, and it's a convenience charge for you actually being able to buy it here. And I'm like, just shaking my head.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's been nuts. I'm sorry if you can all hear this. This is my dog.
Oh, here, dog. You got a good microphone.
Thank you. Oh man.
So do you have a new date from Second Sight on when that book might be available?
I believe it's September. I think we are shooting for end of September. I can get back to you all for that, but I'm pretty sure it's end of September right now.
Okay, yeah, definitely let us know, and I can update the video for when that book will be coming out. I'm sure I'll be getting email from them anyhow because they're on our publisher list now too. So
Awesome. Yeah, like I said, it's gonna be. I think everybody's gonna be super happy where it goes. It's gonna be. It's been such a fun story to write, and I think people are just gonna enjoy it. It's gonna have something for everybody, and the one thing I avoided like a plague was to preach to people. I wanted people to read the book and experience the story and come to their own conclusions as to what happened and why it happened. Obviously, everything's going to be explained, but it's going to be in such a way that you can basically choose your side to see who was good and who was bad in the end.
Still draw your own conclusion, but in a different light.
Absolutely, it's going to be. It's been a fantastic journey doing the book, and I can't wait, to continue. I have a couple of other projects I'm gonna probably work on after the sixth issue is done. A couple of one shots. I have a horror story I'm gonna probably write. Just dabble in a different genres. I don't want to be stuck with, hey, it's the mythology guy. So I have I actually did if you don't mind, I can find this. It was another mythology book I was part of. It was also on Kickstarter called Modern Mythology. It had about, I want to say 15 or 16 different artists on it, different creators, and this was my story for it, called Brothers of War, which was essentially, it's a 6-page story kind of that I did, and I wanted to cover Mahabharata, the Indian epic, and it followed the two brothers, Karna and Arjuna, and I just wanted to kind of give it a different spin. The whole anthology was basically putting them in a more modern setting, but without losing the integrity of the story. So that was fun.
Well, I'm sure it's gonna feel wonderful being a brand new comic book writer and getting picked up by a small press publisher like so quick, only after writing a couple of books.
Oh, for sure. No, it was, I was actually in a magazine, originally by Antarctic Press. They actually published the first issue in 2 parts. So I was in magazine part 1 and part 4, and that was just being picked up the first time was just fantastic because I didn't know what to do. I didn't, it was my first comic book. I didn't know the industry. I didn't know who to contact. I had no idea. I was just like, hey, I'm a guy. I just want to write this, and whoever reads it, reads it. that was the kind of idea behind it, and just having people gravitate to it, and people, that was the biggest kind of joy for me at cons. I'll have people that met me at a different con or different signing come back to me and, hey, story's awesome. Where's the second issue coming out? Can you tell me any kind of, can you give me hints? Can you give me anything? It's cool to see people gravitate towards the story, and that's one of the things I miss, from the shows, just having, sometimes you need a little positivity in your life.
And now, if they watch this interview, they'll be able to really get your goat and make it be like, "Hey, mythology guy, when's the next issue?"
There we go. Now I have a new banner. I'm just gonna be the mythology guy in the background. That's gonna be my go-to.
You can get Scotty Young to do a caricature of you.
There you go.
Put it up on a banner behind you.
I could be like, I don't know, like a statue or something like in that vein. Just a statue with a book, reading book very angrily. I don't know.
Like the old Rocky and Bullwinkle show.
There you go.
Fractured fairy tales.
Oh man.
Well, I wanna thank you for joining us tonight and talking about your project. And once again, congratulations for getting on with Second Sight Publishing. We're excited to see you so quick get a publisher that's close to unheard of, especially even nowadays.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been it's definitely been a journey, and I just want to have the book out there. That's my main goal here. I want people to read the book. I want people to enjoy it. So please come September, you'll be able to pick it up from Second Sight Publishing. Hopefully have your local comic book store order it. As I've stated, there's going to be that 1 in 15 variant that's super cool, and the main cover is going to be done by Kenneth Rocafort. So the original piece I've shown you earlier is the cover A for the book as well, for issue number 1. So having kind of do the cover is a dream come true. It was just, hey, you have time, and he kind of told me, give him a couple of months. But again, thank you so much for having me. I've had a blast. I'm glad this all worked, minus the couple of the camera blips here.
That's perfectly okay. I was glad to have you on. Good to have a chance to meet another, not just comic book creator, but another comic book fan.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much for having me. And anytime you want to have me back, hopefully with more news about this project or anything else that I have in the future.
Oh, most definitely. Keep in touch, and we'll look forward to seeing that 1 in 15 variant hit stands at our local comic book shops in September. Make sure you tell your comic shop that you want this book.
Yeah, Book of Lyaxia coming September.
1 in 15 and a regular. So you can read one and hurry up and save the other one for a comic show that you can get signed.
Absolutely, and signatures are free.
Free signatures. People are going to be lining up. Where's Mythology Guy? I want my free signature. Well, Aaron, thank you very much for taking some time out and joining us tonight. And hopefully we'll see you at a con in the very near future.
Absolutely. Hopefully I'll see you there.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Absolutely.